Guys, listen, it's here. It's the next best anime. It's finally here. Remember 𝘍𝙘𝙘𝙠? Yes, the 𝘍𝙘𝙘𝙠. The anime is so goddamn funny and so on point with the exaggeration of mundane events that even Western animation professionals like Tyler Chen, director on Star vs. the Forces of Evil, uses clips from it as teaching materials for the open animation community. So what if I tell you that there's an anime that could almost go head to head with 𝘍𝙘𝙘𝙠 with its humor, but also add in an extra layer of personal relatability? Enter Bocchi the Rock, or should I say, Anxiety the Anime. Bocchi the Rock had been in my list of shows to watch for around a month. Not until the airing of the second last episode had I actually decided to watch it. I remember back at the beginning of November, when my uni friend Tommy kept hyping up the show like, "Go watch Bocchi the Rock! Bocchi's animation is so good! Bocchi! Yep, that's exactly how she sounds like. I know for a fact that she's not watching because none of my friends ever watch my videos. My friends don't watch my videos. Nobody I know watches my videos. Huh. Then who is actually watching my videos? What am I doing here? Oh. Yes, you're still here. Anyways, eventually a week ago, at the time when I'm bored out of my mind with work, but I've already been catching up to Chainsaw Man and Spy Family, so I just gotta dig up something from my watch list. Just so happened that this particular clip has been popping up through my recommendations lately. Finally, I gave it a try, and it was amazing. Let's cut to the chase. The cinematography of this show is incredible. Right from the start, we are presented with an extreme up-tilt shot, seeing a child pointing upward, trying to get the others to play hide and seek together. Then we see young Hitori, aka Bocchi, standing at the center of the screen, thinking to herself if she should join in. Then cutting to a wide shot where she's standing alone in front of the wall, while her classmates start gathering at the foreground, caging her in with their body. And again, with an upshot, we now see young Hitori from the back, standing by herself at the center of the room, with the others playing happily among themselves. Every single person grayed out, except her teacher, who offers to take care of her. This opening scene sets such a clear premise to the entire series and the inner self of Hitori, reflecting how lonely she has been since she was small. The struggle where she feels pressured by all of her peers' close relationships, and in fact wishes to socialize with them, but just cannot get herself to do so. Hitori has been telling herself, "I am someone who will always end up being alone because I don't take opportunities." Until picking up her guitar, she has been defining herself by nothing but limitations and boundaries of isolation, and say, "That's me." Narrative therapist Brady Bryant states in his reaction to Bocchi, "The way you tell yourself your own story directly affects the behavior you follow." At that period of her life, Hitori was living a self-perpetuating lifestyle, where at first sight, it seems like she's repelled by others' extroversion, but in actuality, caged by her own codified experience as unchangeable and fixed, to justify why she stays in such set narrative. And even in other scenes over the show, there's quite a lot of unusual camera angles and framing techniques implemented to support and highlight Bocchi's emotions. Like whenever she's in her closet, there's gotta be something in the foreground suggesting on the compactness of the space around her. When she felt defeated, the camera usually took her point of view and kept it close to the ground. And in instances like this, where she's forcing herself out of her comfort zone, the entire perspective is warped, where all the lines are curving towards her to emphasize the courage that she's putting into what she's doing. One of my favorite moments in the show is during the audition in episode 5, when Bocchi and the Kessoku Band is performing the song Guitar, Loneliness, and the Blue Planet. According to Red Joker on YouTube, a song that fully describes Bocchi's journey in overcoming her fear of social anxiety. By the rising tension of the song, she reflects how her bandmates depends on her, and how she herself didn't want to give up her long-time dream of being in a band. The camera cuts to a low angle, close to the stage floor, as we see Bocchi raising her foot and took a hard-hitting stance. This particular shot sends chills down my spine every single time I watch it. It's such a powerful shot that shows her faith and confidence in this performance, and that nothing else in this world matters any more than it is now. Until that point, she had taken little steps on her journey of character development. From simply picking up a guitar, to first time successfully handed a customer a cup of OJ, to now able to confidently perform on stage as if nobody else was around. She had constructed a new identity for herself, not by trying to become a different person, but managing parts of her being, her personality that she despises, sacrificing what she's comfortable with, and finally taking multiple steps to climb that mountain. This song, together with this performance, is no doubt my favorite scene throughout the entire show. On the other hand, the use of pure background in this anime is also one thing that's worth mentioning. It's something that I have not seen in other media as much as that in Bocchi. Usually, films show empty spaces in order to display a lack of population, loneliness, peacefulness, and such. But in Bocchi, colorfully painted backgrounds seems to be presented in a way to serve a different function. My theory is that, instead of implying isolation, they are used to reflect memories associated with them. Similar to the concept of liminal space, the fact that we feel a sense of unease in liminal spaces is because we associate such physical locations with events that are supposed to happen in such places. Like a shopping mall, for example. Its function is for people to walk around all the time and commute from store to store. But when the space itself lost its resonance, it has lost its sole purpose, and so we feel like there's a void to be filled in such places. Hence, the creepiness. And in Bocchi's case, all the places shown are places that Bocchi is familiar with. And with places like the classroom that she attends and the bedroom that she spends most of her life in, serves as bits of memories connected to her own life. But enough of those nerdy film talks. I know what you come here for. You're expecting silly movements, wacky expressions, and mental breakdowns. Well, I got you, fam. The fame that comes with Bocchi cannot exist without its realistic depiction of social anxiety. What makes it extraordinary amongst all the other anime that tackles similar issue is that it literally feels like somebody was experiencing social anxiety right in front of your very eyes. I believe I don't have to pull up any scientific explanation of what it is, but in case you're the type who looks for specific definitions, according to NHS, the National Health Service, social anxiety is more than shyness. It's a fear that does not go away and affect everyday activities, self-confidence, relationships, and work or school life. Basically, anybody who overthinks, has trouble with social interactions, hate being watched, and have panic attacks when experiencing an overwhelming amount of fear and anxiety. The thing depicted in Bocchi the Rock may be exaggerated at times for comedic effect, but they are all based on true thoughts and emotions you would experience when you have social anxiety. And for the most part, from my experience, they are pretty damn accurate. Garnt, from the world-renowned Trash Taste podcast, said this about Bocchi.
Like, every time I see Bocchi have like this her own like anxiety episode, and the way that they use animation to convey what she's going through, it relates on you to a personal level that is so relatable, it actually is kind of painful, you know? If you have a single introvert bone in your body, you will enjoy Bocchi the Rock, because they do so well in portraying what goes through your mind in these little interactions where you're kind of feeling like a little bit awkward and you don't really know what to say and you're kind of overthinking everything, okay? But yeah, Bocchi the Rock has been my surprise of the year. It is, I never, ever thought I would put a slice of life show on the S tier.
The writer of Bocchi clearly knows what they're doing. Either they have an extremely clear understanding in human psychology, or they are literally Bocchi and have experienced all of these anxious thoughts themselves. Bocchi is relatable because the writer decided to isolate an undiscussed but undoubtedly universal social phenomenon by tapping into these kinds of issues. Instead of just having a character that is shy and quiet and is conservative in sharing their own feelings, Bocchi's characters, not just Hitori himself, but all the cast, are constructed in a way that they all feel like real-life people, with different layers of introversion and extroversion. Instead of discussing anxiety in a shallow manner, Bocchi the Rock has a clear understanding, thus true portrayal of such personality. As a matter of fact, the viewers don't even have to be socially anxious to relate with Bocchi, but only with the feeling of I'm not special or no one in the world would ever notice me. This show will guarantee liberate all those self-deprecating thoughts and make you fall in love with his character, because Bocchi makes you know that somebody in the world would understand how you feel and that you are indeed special with your own personal experience to relate with. And I mean, in exchange for simple character designs with simple shadings, the sheer number of details presented on the animation of the show already display the level of realism they are willing to go for in terms of their characters. And such a creative approach doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. When writing this script, I was actually reading the book Starting Point by Hayao Miyazaki, and there's something that he says I think explains the entire animation style of Bocchi. He says,
"What you want to express should determine the technique that you use. If you don't have anything to say, technique alone is not enough to create a work. Technique is something people develop in order to express something."
You might notice in many cases that characters like Nijika moves in a way that looks very much like rotoscoping, the technique where you trace out a live-action reference of such action. But that's not entirely what's happening in this show. Instead, according to an interview with the main staff of the show, it's revealed that they actually took footage of live-action actors performing and used motion capture to achieve the level of details on each character's movements, and through that reflects each character's personality. Furthermore, if you want to go even more analytic with their animation, they even animated elements like the vibration of the chord on the guitar and the shaking of the reflection on a freaking water bottle during the performance. Like, oh my god, are they trying to win the Oscar or something? The creative freedom that producer Shota Umehara gives his staff is also one that makes Bocchi so remarkable compared to other conventional anime. In the interview, he mentioned that he's actually a more conservative person who prefers taking the safe route. But for this show, he made an exception thanks to the passion he saw in his staff and how daring they are to explore different ideas. In the end, such devotion to their craft is definitely reflected in all the unusual gags and comical off-model drawings there are in Bocchi. The range of creative mediums that they use, from style of manga strips to 3D simulations to live-action cardboard cutout, to actual stop motion, to convey what it's like to think that everybody around you are just static objects spinning around like a Salem witch trial, and what goes through your head when you're experiencing an existential crisis about how you have chosen your career path, like playing the game of life, overseeing all the possible fuck-ups that you could land on, that leads to another fuck-up, and to another. It's so hilarious watching their portrayal of Bocchi's personality, to the point where it actually feels like a stab in the guts. And I swear, while watching Bocchi, it's just, this is me for real moments the whole way through. Like, it's fucking ridiculous how close to home it hits. Another factor that makes Bocchi so popular this season, also thanks to how closely in touch it is with modern society. Right off the bat, we know that Hitori is a shut-in who has a fear of social interactions, not necessarily a need, since she's technically employed by Nijika's sister, but nonetheless a recluse. And consider how we have just been freed from a global pandemic, where for the past 2 to 3 years, we've been forced into isolation, interacting only with our family, our pets, or fictional characters on the internet, no judgment here. And not until just recently that we are finally allowed to return to some kind of normalcy. Because of that, a lot of people have either been converted into introverts and have grown to prefer the lack of human contact, or, on the other side of the spectrum, have developed mental problems from simply loneliness, paranoia, to even depression. According to a study on the impact of post-C conditions on mental health in Japan and Sweden, symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, or anxiety have been observed in people who recovered from the big C. While control measures like lockdowns may increase the risk of mental disorder like depression, compared to viewers from the pre-pandemic times, especially for frequent anime viewers, people could relate to Bocchi's anxiety more than ever. On top of that, real-life references from the show have also grounded it to reality at a fundamental level. Things like Bocchi's hyper-exaggeration on social media based off of her fear of public humiliation, where she thought her lack of social skill would lead her down the path of despair to the point where she would be sentenced to death. I might be off on this, but I think this might be an ambiguous satire on cancel culture, where no matter how big of a mistake you made in public space, as long as you're filmed by somebody else and put onto the internet, your whole life could easily be ruined because of that, since future employers might judge you from such sources like a criminal record. But I might have overshot quite a bit here. So let's also look at how the show portrayed a form of parasocial relationship with reference to the big boss YouTube. In episode 1, there's moments where Bocchi kept comparing her subscriber count with her actual skill in real life, be it in a social or technical kind of way. Since there's in fact a big juxtaposition in Bocchi's supported online and her number of friends in real life, whenever she feels defeated by the lack of confidence she had talking to people, or by the fact that she could not play as well on stage compared to when she was playing in her closet, she fell into the textbook definition of imposter syndrome, where you feel like you do not deserve something that you clearly deservingly earned. And in Bocchi's case, she felt like she doesn't deserve that 30k sub count because she felt invalidated by her own incompetence in real life. Because in the end of the day, no matter how appreciative the comments and reactions you get online, there's still a filter of actual human interactions, and so your brain could easily trick you into thinking that those people you're interacting online are actually trying to be your friend, or are they just passing by fans of yours? The parasocial relationship at play, especially at the end of a show, reflected how big of a difference it can be between virtual interactions and true physical exchange in an interpersonal level. And truth to be told, I myself have first-handedly experienced such phenomenon. Like Bocchi, I first started my YouTube channel because I recognized my own reclusiveness and wanted to use this as a training ground for communication. But slowly, thanks to you guys, even though it's not much, I start gaining an audience on this platform. And for a short period of time, I actually thought my interactions online could be directly translated to real life, which is, you guessed it, not true. Because as disappointing as it seems, I failed to realize that not every single person who follow me, or like my videos, or even comment on them, are my actual deeply bonded friends. Moreover, as a long-lasted tenant of the internet, I often find myself not being able to process what's happening in real life, and even sometimes internally commented on how some discussions I hear in real life would get certain people in trouble if they were posted online, just like what Bocchi did. Not knowing that the internet is basically just a mirror microcosm of the social interactions happen in real life, where people vent their deepest undisclosed emotions that they're unable to express in the physical world. In my teenage years, I constantly question people's behavior in real life and find myself confused and inadequate in performing appropriate social customs. Until someday when I've seriously f***ed up, I realize that I have problems and I try my best to observe and adjust my actions accordingly, one step at a time. And I would even say that, till this day, this is still something that I'm working on. You could ask my friends about me and I bet most of them would use words like unique or quirky to describe me. And that's fine by me, because I have fully embraced it as part of myself. But in order to avoid making other people around me feel uncomfortable, I still have some areas of improvement. And at the end of the day, I will still be me and remain genuine and transparent with who I am both online and in real life. I might act a bit differently depending on occasions, but like what Rio said about Bocchi in this scene, the content that I put up might not be for everyone, and might even feel down and depressing at times. But for those who understands, it's gonna hit deep in the heart where nobody else could. Rather than marketability, I would much prefer authenticity for the content that I put out. That is what I want to give to this community, and I think that's what Bocchi the Rock is all about. Cloverworks might not have a good track record with what they produce over the years, with shows like The Promised Neverland and Wandering Priority having rushed and unsatisfying endings. But as long as Bocchi stays true to what it is all about, and take their time to produce the next season, I'm sure, thanks to MVP Hitori Gotoh and the staff working on the show, Bocchi the Rock could go even further beyond and get an even higher reputation amongst all the most hit anime of all time. But for now, season 1 is over, and I gotta wait patiently for the next season to come. Time to watch the show all over again. Sorry. My order of a truck full of copium just arrived. Hold on. All jokes aside, thanks for sticking around till the end of the video. Once again, it's a long one and I apologize for that. If you're coping with the end of the show alongside with me, I recommend you checking out Red Joker on his full-on analysis on the song Guitar Loneliness and the Blue Planet from Bocchi. Or, if you want to see a therapist's complete dissection on the psychology of Bocchi, go check out Brady Bryan on his channel EuroBrady. All the links are in the description below. Say hi to them for me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!